Hi, I'm Simone, and today we're going to be making a chocolate hazelnut cake using Nutella. There are quite a few ingredients that you'll need for this cake, but honestly it'll make it absolutely yummy, so don't skip any of them. And they include Nutella, butter, sugar, coffee, baking powder, cocoa, eggs and flour. This recipe will make enough batter for you to make 2 small cakes or 1 larger one. I've decided to make 2 cakes so that I can show you both parchment lining and non-stick spray, but you're welcome to do either or both. This cake is made using the creaming method, so we'll start by creaming together the butter and the sugar in the mixer until light and fluffy. In the mixer it takes 2 to 3 minutes. I start it really slow and then I move it so it's really quick, so it beats it very quickly. If you're doing it by hand, it'll take around about 5 minutes, and you can tell that it's done because the mixture will have lightened a lot. It'll be really pale, barely yellow, and it'll be really light and smooth in texture. If it's not at that point yet, you need to keep going until it reaches that point. I've been asked about my mixer, so I just wanted to talk about the attachment that I'm using. So the machine that I use is a Kenwood Titanium Chef. It comes with a variety of different attachments, but one of the things that it came with was a K Flexi Beater. And this is the kind of attachment which you can buy separately as well if you have an existing Kenwood, but it's specifically for sponge cakes and it's made of silicone. And basically it's almost like a spatula. So what this really does is it makes it really easy to cut through all of your ingredients, but it also manages to scrape down the sides really well as well, so that it incorporates a lot quicker. So if you do have an attachment like this and you're making a sponge cake, this is the kind that I would use. I apologise for the lighting. You can't really see how light it actually is. It still looks a little bit yellow, but it is really quite light. But I did use a very yellow margarine for this recipe. But basically it's really soft and smooth, and that's what you're looking for. This recipe uses 4 eggs, so what I did was I cracked all of the eggs into a bowl first and whisked them with a fork, and then added them slowly to the mixture, adding a couple of teaspoons of flour after each addition to stop them curdling. As you can see, the mixture's gone really wet at this point. And I am trying to stop it from curdling, although to be honest it's really not the end of the world. So I've added a couple of teaspoons of flour. It's important to note that that flour is from the flour I've already measured out. So this isn't additional flour, this is from the original amount of flour that I started with. Okay, so now we're going to add the coffee. This step is optional, but I would personally never miss it out in this cake recipe. You make the coffee earlier so that it has an opportunity to cool, because if you add hot coffee to your cake mixture, it's going to melt the butter and you don't want that. When you mix it, just make sure that you mix it on a slow speed to start off with. Give it an opportunity to incorporate properly. So I've used a hazelnut flavoured coffee. It's actually my boyfriend's that I rubbed off him. 2 tablespoons of coffee with 2 tablespoons of water, so it's really strong. I don't miss this out because it will help to bring out the flavour of the cocoa, and this one being a hazelnut flavoured one as well just adds a little something extra, but you can use a regular coffee, that's not a problem. So now we're going to add some Nutella to the cake mix. I live in England. It is absolutely freezing here. We've got 12 centimetres of snow outside. So what I had to do was I bent the spoon trying to get the Nutella out of the jar, and then I realised that if I just put the jar of Nutella into another bowl that had some boiling water in it and left it for 15 minutes, it would just soften the Nutella so that it came out much easier and it would incorporate better into the cake. So that is what I did on this occasion. If you live somewhere where it's warm or you're making this cake in the summer, you shouldn't need to do that. You don't need this to be very liquid, you just need it to be at least spreadable so that when you mix it, it mixes quite easily and you won't get too many lumps. although lumps are not necessarily a bad thing. I just mixed this until the colour was fairly even all over it. But if there are still some lumps in it, honestly, don't worry about it. It just means that someone gets a really nice surprise when they get that bit of cake with a nice lumpy bit in it. So we're now going to add our dry ingredients. They are baking powder, cocoa and flour. You can mix these in a bowl with a whisk first and then just add them all at once, but I've been a little bit lazy, so I'm just doing it this way. If you've used a plain flour or an all-purpose flour, you'll need to add baking powder according to the instructions on the back of the packet, and then 1 extra teaspoon on top. I've used self-raising, so I'm going to miss that part out. And then I've added the cocoa on top of that, which we're going to strain. The cocoa always has a bit more difficulty passing through the strainer, so what I do is I use a spoon to help me. If I can't get those bits to go through, I won't force them, I'll just discard the lumpy bits, we don't need them. So before I put the paddle back into the mixer and mix it around, I'm mixing it around with a spatula first. That is because if you put it straight into the mixer and you switch it on, the likelihood is that all of those dry ingredients are going to go poof into the air. They're going to go everywhere, they're going to make a mess, and there's really no need. So what I've done is I've just stirred it really, really quickly, just so that it's a little bit mixed in, before I've added the paddle attachment, and then I'm going to put it into the mixer. And I don't have to worry about starting it on a super, super low speed. I can just start it on normal and get it all mixed and incorporated. It is really important to not overmix a cake. Literally, as soon as it comes together, it's done. You can even do this last part completely by hand without putting it in the mixer, just to ensure that you don't overmix. I know a lot of people wonder about what overmixing is, but basically, if you overmix, and I won't tell you all about the gluten strands, your cake is likely to turn out tough. I just wanted you to see the rough consistency of this cake. It's still a little bit lumpy, I'm not worried about that at all. I strained all of the ingredients, so honestly, don't worry about it, it's not a problem. There will be also quite a few air holes in this, rather large air holes, because I've used an electric mixer. I'm not worried about those either, I'm going to show you how to get rid of those. So this is a small tin that I've lined with baking parchment. So I just wanted to show you what you need to do. This is a loose bottom tin, so if you take out the bottom panel, draw round the bottom panel onto a piece of parchment paper, and then cut it out so it fits neatly in the bottom. And then if you make sure that you do some side panels that are at least a centimetre larger than the sides of the pan, then you can put those around. I use butter, or you can use a non-stick spray or something to secure it to the sides. And then when you put your cake in there, not only does it give it a little extra protection against the heat of the edge of the pan, but it makes it really easy to remove later. Once you've put your mixture in, if you smooth over the top, and you can use a wiggling movement to shake it about to help you. You can tap it on the table to get rid of some of the large air bubbles to also help you. And you can use a spatula to just run it round the edge so that you get a nice even top. You'll find that you get a much smoother finish once you put that in the oven. As I said earlier, I'm making 2 cakes, so I wanted to show you my Wilton Bake Easy. It's a non-stick spray. You just spray it around the tins. It's really, really quick. It's ideal if you're making unusual shaped cakes, because they will literally just fall out of the pan. Now, normally I would spray this outside, but it's -5. I'm cold. I don't want to take my camera out, so I've done it inside. It is a lot easier to clean up if you do it outside, because you're just outside and you don't have to do anything. And I did have to actually clean some of this off my surface, so that wasn't ideal, but whatever. Make sure that you've managed to get at least some of it on all of the pans, although as you can see these are non-stick pans anyway, and they're relatively new. I've only used them a few times. So put your cake batter in and just smooth it out, put it in the oven. I put mine in for 14 minutes to start and then decided to check them. If your oven is a little bit more like an incinerator, which my oven is, you need to check it early just in case it's overcooked. I know it's done because I'm tapping the side and a toothpick inserted in the centre has come out clean. As you can see, my oven did slightly overcook these. I'm used to it, it's fine. You can see that it's starting to come away from the edges at the side, so that's how you know it's definitely done, and it will just fall out of the cake pan. That is what is absolutely brilliant about non-stick sprays. The cakes will always just fall straight out of the cake pan. It's amazing. I left these on the side for about 15 minutes before I decided to turn them out, and they're still really warm at this point, but I can tell that they're perfectly cooked because the bottom is still beautifully smooth. It's the right colour, it's not at all overdone. So once I've tipped both of these out, I'll leave them on the side for at least another half an hour, possibly an hour to cool. If you live in a really hot country, then they might come to room temperature at a different time, I don't know. I live in England, it's freezing, it really won't take that long. So that's awesome for me. Make sure that these are absolutely cool before you put buttercream in them. And the reason I say that is if you don't, the butter will melt, and that is really not attractive. It also doesn't taste very nice either. So definitely wait until it's cool. I wanted to show you what the other cake looked like. It took about an extra 15 minutes in the oven, and I did turn it halfway through. It came out really easy out of the pan. I just took the parchment off once it was a little bit cooler.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and feel free to leave any comments on the bottom of the screen. Thanks.